All right, everyone, buckle up. We're diving deep into Tesla's Q3 2024 update. And let me tell you, there's a lot to unpack here. So consider this deep dive your fast track to understanding what's really going on with Tesla right now. We're going straight to the source with their official update. So let's jump right in.
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out is just how well Tesla's performing. Even with all the, economic uncertainty, they pulled in a whopping $25.2 billion in revenue this quarter. That's an 8% increase from last year, which is pretty impressive, no matter how you slice it. And their operating margin seemed pretty at 10.8%.
Okay, so big numbers, we get it. But what's the story behind the numbers? Is it just that they're selling a ton more cars?
Well, yeah, sales are definitely a part of it. But there's more to it than that. Take a look at their regulatory credit revenue. It's the second highest they've ever recorded.
What does that tell us?
Well, it means other car manufacturers are still struggling to meet those emission targets. They're basically paying Tesla to help them catch up, which just goes to show how far ahead Tesla is in the EV game.
So they're not just winning by selling cars. They're winning by, I guess, helping the rest of the industry go green. That's pretty clever. But let's talk about something that's probably on a lot of people's minds. Affordability. When are EVs going to be within reach for, the everyday person?
It seems like Tesla's trying to make that happen, and fast. They've managed to get their cost of goods sold per vehicle down to a record low, just a smidge over $35,000.
Wow, okay, that's starting to get into
No.
more reasonable territory.
And they've even hinted at releasing even more affordable models in early 2025.
So if they can make EVs cheaper than, say, owning a gas guzzler or even taking an Uber, that's a game changer, right?
Absolutely. It could be a real tipping point for mass adoption.
But speaking of changing the game, what about all this buzz around full self-driving?
Ah, yes. FSD, the technology that never fails to generate headlines.
It can be hard to keep up with all the different versions and updates.
Right. So it's important to distinguish between them. We have FSD beta, which is still in testing with select drivers. And then there's FSD supervised, which is what most Tesla owners have.
Okay, so like a really advanced driver assist system where the car can basically drive itself, but you still got to keep your hands on the wheel just in case.
Exactly. Think of it as a very capable co-pilot. And they've actually logged over 2 billion miles driven on FSD supervised, which is...
Wow, 2 billion miles. That's insane.
It is. And over half of those miles were driven on their latest V12 version.
So they're constantly refining the system, gathering data.
Yeah, basically teaching the AI how to drive better.
And then there's the whole robo-taxi thing, which honestly still feels a bit like science fiction to me.
Yeah, that's a bit further down the road, but Tesla is aiming for a cost per mile that's cheaper than ride shares, personal car ownership, even cheaper than public transportation.
Whoa, hold on. Cheaper than all of that? How is that even possible?
Yeah. That's the big question, right? They laid out some of their thinking at their recent We Robot event. But yeah, it's a pretty bold vision.
Like completely reimagining how we get around. Cities designed without traffic jams. Parking lots turned into parks.
It's definitely a future worth thinking about.
All right, let's park that thought for now and move on to something a bit more down to earth. The Cybertruck.
Ah, yes, the Cybertruck. Tesla's most unconventional vehicle to date.
I gotta admit, when they first unveiled it, I thought it was a bit of a gimmick. But guess what? It's become the third best-selling EV in the U.S., even though it hasn't even hit full production yet.
People are literally lining up for a truck that looks like it drove straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's like they tapped into this cultural zeitgeist, this hunger for something different.
It's not just a truck, it's a statement.
And it seems to be resonating with a lot of people. But speaking of disrupting industries, Tesla's not just shaking up the auto world. Their energy business is quietly becoming a major force.
Oh, absolutely. And it's actually starting to make some serious money. Their energy business hit a record gross margin of 30.5% this quarter.
That's huge. I mean, it shows they're not just playing around in the energy sector.
Right, they're becoming a real contender.
And their Powerwall deployments are through the roof.
More and more people are looking for home energy solutions.
It's like they're building this whole ecosystem, right? Solar panels, battery storage, and of course, the electric vehicles.
They're not just an EV company, they're aiming to be a comprehensive, sustainable energy company.
Okay, so big ambitions on the energy front. But what about their global reach?
Well, their global expansion is full steam ahead. Their Shanghai factory just hit 2 major milestones. They produced their 3 millionth vehicle, and they exported their 1 millionth vehicle.
Wait, 3 million vehicles from a single factory? That's incredible.
It really is, and it highlights just how rapidly they're scaling up production.
And it's not just about quantity, is it? The Model Y is now the best-selling car in several European countries.
Yeah.
And it's the best-selling EV of all time in Norway.
That's right. They're making serious inroads into new markets.
So we've got record-breaking profits, the Cybertruck craze, global expansion, a booming energy business. It seems like Tesla is firing on all cylinders. But are there any cracks in this seemingly impenetrable armor?
Well, even for a company as innovative and ambitious as Tesla, there are always challenges.
The global economy is still a bit rocky, right?
Exactly, and supply chain issues are always a potential headache. Plus, the competition is heating up. Traditional automakers are finally taking EVs seriously.
So it's not going to be smooth sailing all the way, but I'm curious, what do you see as the biggest potential roadblock for Tesla in the long run?
That's a tough one. I think one of the biggest hurdles they'll face is scaling up production while maintaining quality and keeping costs down. They've got these ambitious goals for affordable EVs, but achieving that kind of mass production without sacrificing what makes Tesla, that's going to be a real balancing act.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure. So we've got the big picture view of Tesla's current standing. They're making money, expanding globally, pushing the boundaries of technology. But what does this all mean for, the average person? How is this going to impact our lives in the years to come?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to really understand that, we need to dig a little deeper into some of the specific details from this update.
Sounds like a plan. Let's keep this deep dive going and see what other fascinating insights we can uncover.
So one thing that really jumped out at me in this update is their investment in artificial intelligence. They boosted their AI training compute by a massive 75% this quarter.
Whoa, 75%. That's a serious commitment. What's the thinking behind that?
It's not just about throwing more computing power at the problem, though. They're also expanding their H100 GPU cluster at Gigafactory Texas. Time.
Okay, so more power, more infrastructure. But what does that actually translate to in terms of their products and services?
Well, AI is going to be crucial for everything, from their self-driving systems to their energy management solutions. Remember those pictures of Optimus dancing at the We Robot event?
Yeah, it was pretty wild seeing those robots move like that.
Exactly, and they're not just building robots, they're building robots that can learn and adapt, and that requires some seriously advanced AI.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. They're not just making cars and batteries. They're pushing the boundaries of AI and robotics. It's like they're trying to invent the future, one algorithm at a time.
It's a pretty ambitious vision. And speaking of pushing boundaries, their next-gen platform is going to include a brand new powertrain. And get this, it's estimated to achieve 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour.
5.5 miles per kilowatt hour.
5.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Can you translate that into something a normal person can understand?
Basically, it means they're squeezing more efficiency out of their vehicles. Longer ranges, lower energy consumption. It's a big step forward in terms of sustainability. So it's not just about making EVs more affordable. It's also about making them more efficient and eco-friendly. They're tackling the problem from all angles. But speaking of sustainability, what about their energy business? Seems like they're making some serious waves there, too.
Oh, absolutely. Their energy business is booming. And as we mentioned earlier, they hit a record gross margin of 30.5% in Q3.
Yeah, that's a huge leap.
It shows they're not just dabbling in sustainable energy, they're becoming a dominant player.
And it seems like they're firing on all cylinders. Their Powerwall deployments keep breaking records, and they're ramping up production of their Megapack, which is what, like a giant battery for entire neighborhoods?
Yeah, think of it as a massive energy storage solution for utilities, businesses, even entire communities.
It's like they're building this whole ecosystem of sustainable energy solutions.
From individual homes to, well, as you said, entire communities.
All right, so we've covered AI, efficiency, energy, but let's circle back to their core business for a second. Vehicles. What do the production and delivery numbers tell us?
Well, those numbers are always a key indicator of how they're doing. And the news is good. They delivered over 462,000 vehicles in Q3, which is a 6% increase year over year.
Not bad, especially with all the supply chain issues and the general economic uncertainty.
They seem to be navigating those headwinds pretty effectively.
It's like they're not just surviving, they're thriving.
And their production capacity is still expanding. Their factories in California, Shanghai, Berlin, Texas, they're all humming along.
And of course, we can't forget about the Cybertruck, which is ramping up production at their Texas Gigafactory.
It's a bold move, but it seems to be paying off.
So they're expanding production, pushing into new markets. But one thing that often gets overlooked is their focus on reducing production costs.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new products and technologies, but at the end of the day, affordability is key. If they can't make EVs accessible to the masses, then their mission to transition the world to sustainable energy, well, it becomes a lot more challenging.
It's a balancing act, for sure.
And they seem to be approaching it with the same rigor and innovation that they apply to everything else.
So they're firing on all cylinders. Strong financial performance, expanding production, groundbreaking innovations, and a relentless focus on cost reduction.
They're not just building a company, they're building a movement.
But before we get too carried away with the hype, let's take a step back and consider the bigger picture. What are the potential pitfalls? What are the challenges that could, throw a wrench in their plans?
Well, for one, the competition is getting fiercer. Traditional automakers are finally waking up to the EV revolution.
Yeah, they're pouring billions of dollars into catching up.
Exactly, so Tesla can't afford to rest on its laurels.
And then there's the whole regulatory landscape, which is, it's always in flux.
Governments around the world are implementing new policies and incentives to encourage EV adoption. But those policies can change, creating uncertainty for businesses.
It's like trying to hit a moving target.
Precisely, so Tesla needs to be agile and adaptable.
So challenges, yes, but what about opportunities? What are some of the things that could really propel them forward?
Well, their push into more affordable models could be a game changer. If they can truly make EVs cheaper than gasoline-powered cars, it could trigger a massive wave of adoption.
And that would have a ripple effect throughout the entire industry.
Absolutely. And then there's the potential of autonomous driving. If they can perfect their full self-driving technology, it could revolutionize transportation as we know it.
No more traffic jams, no more accidents.
It sounds like science fiction, but it could become reality sooner than we think.
All right, let's put a pin in that for now and get back to something a little more grounded. Their energy business.
Right. Their energy business is already exceeding expectations, but it has the potential to become even more significant in the coming years.
As the world shifts to renewable energy, the demand for storage solutions is only going to grow.
Exactly. And Tesla is perfectly positioned to capitalize on that.
They've got the technology, the infrastructure, the vision. This is a pretty exciting time to be watching Tesla, to say the least.
They're pushing the boundaries of technology, sustainability, transportation, and we've only scratched the surface of what they're doing.
Well, let's not waste any more time then. Let's dive into the final part of this deep dive and see what other insights we can unearth. All right, so we've talked about the challenges, the opportunities, but let's zoom out even further. What does Tesla's trajectory tell us about the future? The future we're all heading towards.
Well, I think it paints a pretty clear picture of a world that's rapidly shifting towards electric and autonomous transportation. And Tesla's not just along for the ride, they're actively shaping it.
It's like they're pulling us into the future, whether we're ready or not. But let's break this down a bit. What are some of the concrete ways this might impact our daily lives?
Well, for starters, think about the environmental impact. As more people switch to EVs, we'll see a significant reduction in carbon emissions.
Cleaner air, healthier cities.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everyone.
And it's not just about the environment, right? Imagine the impact on our cities. If self-driving cars become the norm, we could see a dramatic reduction in traffic congestion.
Absolutely. Think about all that wasted time and energy just sitting in traffic.
And what about accidents?
Yeah, traffic accidents would likely decrease significantly too. Autonomous vehicles are programmed to follow traffic laws, and they react much faster than human drivers.
So safer roads, cleaner air, less traffic. It sounds pretty utopian. But what about the potential downsides?
Yeah.
What about the people who might be displaced by this shift towards automation?
That's a valid concern for sure. The transition to autonomous vehicles will definitely disrupt certain industries, particularly those related to transportation and logistics.
So like truck drivers, taxi drivers.
Yeah, we'll need to find ways to retrain and support those workers.
It's a challenge we can't ignore. But it's also an opportunity to create new industries and jobs in fields like AI development, robotics, sustainable energy.
It's not an end, it's a shift.
Right, it's about adaptation and evolution. And that's something Tesla seems to be pretty good at. But let's zoom out even further. What does Tesla's success say about the broader technological landscape?
I think it shows that innovation is happening at an incredible pace. It seems like every other week there's a new breakthrough, a new technology that has the potential to disrupt entire industries.
It's a really exciting time to be following all this.
It is, but it also raises questions about the role of technology in our lives. How much control are we willing to give up to machines? What are the ethical implications of all these new technologies?
Yeah, those are important questions to consider. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it and what kind of future we want to create.
Finding that balance between progress and responsibility, between innovation and ethical considerations.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from record profits to self-driving cars to the future of energy. What's your biggest takeaway from all of this?
For me, it's the sheer audacity of Tesla's vision. They're not just trying to build a successful company. They're trying to change the world, and they're not afraid to take risks, to challenge the status quo, to push the boundaries of what's possible.
And they're doing it all with this incredible sense of urgency.
They're not content to wait for the future to happen. They're actively creating it.
So what's next for Tesla? What can we expect to see in the coming years?
If their track record is any indication, we can expect the unexpected.
New products, new technologies, new breakthroughs.
They're constantly pushing the envelope, exploring uncharted territory.
Sounds like it's going to be a wild ride.
But here's a final thought to leave you with. As Tesla continues to innovate and disrupt, how will their actions shape your own life? Will you embrace the electric and autonomous future they're building? Or will you resist the change?
It's a question worth pondering. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Tesla's Q3 2024 update. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.